Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be first date, followed the rules, and then ghosted. I got an email here from a guy. He went on a first date. He thought went really well, and he got ghosted after that. When he reached out through, she even texted him at the end of the night when she got home to let him know that she had gotten home. And then only a few days later, he texted her to try to set up another date, and she just never replied. And so he's wondering, hey, dude, I did what you told me to do, and I still got ghosted. I swear this girl really liked me. What's up with that? However, there's some subtle things in here in his email that give away what he did wrong that led to what seemingly started out as a good date and potentially was going to lead to a second, third, fourth date, etc., to just being totally ghosted. The important thing to understand in these situations is you got to remember most women have been out on dates, they've been approached, and they've had enough guys interested in them that they've learned to sniff out the guys that are alpha from the beta. And especially if you're on a first date or you're talking to a girl or you're texting a girl, it doesn't take too many fuck-ups where you're displaying beta male tendencies that you're weak, you're needy, you're controlling, you're fearful, that you're going to completely scare the girl away, and she's just going to decide that you're just like all the other 97%ers out there, and then they blow you off because they know how that ends. Those guys usually don't take no for an answer. Those guys eventually start to get pissed off when she doesn't want to go out with them again, and they keep pestering her and badgering her, and so you get ghosted because they just would rather avoid the confrontation at all and hope you figure it out that they're no longer interested and you just kind of go away. So I got a quote that I wrote, and then we'll go through this guy's email because there's a lot of little subtle things in here that are really important that give away his mindset, how it was wrong, and what he was doing and saying, and his tone of voice and his text that led to her deciding that he was pretty much just like all the other guys that she normally rejects. So its quote I wrote says, most men do not understand that the average woman has met so many men and been on so many dates with average guys who act weak, indecisive, unsure of themselves, and needy, that they have developed a sixth sense to weed out the beta males from the alpha males with a quickness. That is often why the average man doesn't realize that by the end of the first date, text exchange, or phone conversation, they have already blown their chances and turned her off. Women are naturally and innately attracted to the alpha male strength traits of being direct, decisive, getting right to the point without concern for rejection or failure. Beta males hesitate, second guess themselves, and dither. If you hesitate, you will masturbate instead of getting a date. I like how that rhymes. I was pretty proud of myself when I wrote that. So let's go through his email. He says, hey, Coach, my friend introduced me to you about 4 months ago. I've read your book 6 times now, and I've started the 7th. Historically, I used to crush dating and not understand how I was so successful, but when it came to keeping them, I always screwed up. I love your approach, and actually I feel like I could have kept a few of my great exes if I knew about you back then. I also have learned why I was successful in past hookups. When you're on your game and you don't give a shit, it just works out. You have an abundance mentality. You can take it or leave it. Remember, like Thich Nhat Hanh said, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And if things aren't going the way you expect them to, and you're displaying weakness, or that you're unsure of yourself, or that you're indecisive, women already know how it ends with those guys. And it's best to just get out as soon as they sense that and feel it. So especially in the beginning, I mean, the higher a woman's attraction for you is in the beginning, like I talk about in the book, the more you can screw up. The lower it is, the less you can screw up. And obviously in this case, she was into him, but not too into him. So it didn't take too many screw-ups to where she decided that he was pretty much like all the other guys and ghosted him. Because it's just easier to ghost a guy than get into a confrontation or get him pissed off or angry, because pretty much every woman that you meet has met guys that are like that. They get mad when women don't do what they expect. He says, I'm in a dry spell and I can't seem to get out of it lately, though. So listen to that story. I'm in a dry spell and I can't seem to get out of it though. So that's what he's focusing on. That's the story that he's telling himself. And so even when he meets new women or he goes on a date, he's like, I'm in a dry spell. It's probably not going to work. And so therefore, he's the complete opposite of the way he was in the past when he didn't give a shit. Now he cares too much. And he's trying too hard. He's giving off the wrong vibe. It affects the tone of his voice, and it's also going to affect his body language. Is it my age, my weight gain, or just confidence? Well, I mean, common sense would tell you if you're going to work out, if you're going to take care of yourself, if you're going to be in good shape, you don't have to be Mr. Olympia, but if you look good, you're toned, women are going to find you more attractive than a guy with a big beer belly. That's reality. Why not make it easier on yourself? Why not give yourself as many advantages? It's just like when it comes to fighting. You don't want to fight fair. You want to have an unfair fight. That way you win. And therefore, if taking care of your body and looking good and feeling good is going to give you more confidence and it's going to make you more attractive, common sense would say, well, it's probably better to work on yourself and take care of you. Because when you care about yourself and you take pride in yourself, you're going to take care of your body. And the healthier you are, women are biologically going to be more attracted to that just because you look healthier. And if you're healthier, that means you're stronger. That means you're also going to produce better quality offspring that are going to have a much higher chance of surviving to adulthood and then reproducing and then passing on the family genes versus somebody that's got a big beer belly and they don't give a fuck. He says, anyway, I recently had a date with a smoking hot 31-year-old. I'm 40, not that that matters. We met on Match.com. We went out. We had a great time. And this is what he says next. Remember what I said in the quote in the beginning. An alpha male is direct, decisive, and he goes for what he wants without fear. If you're on a first date and you just went out to a dinner, say you got a bottle of wine, you got some nice dinner, you're $50, $100 for a date, and you're thinking, wow, I'd like to go out with this girl again, but I'm not going to kiss her on this date, and then you wait to kiss her, try to kiss her on a second or third date, and you get the cheek, you're thinking, fuck, I just wasted all this time and all this effort and this energy and money to get her fucking cheek. An alpha male assumes that when he goes to kiss a girl he's on a date with, that she's going to love to kiss him back because he's such a great guy and a great date. But a guy who's unsure of himself, who's unsure of his value, remember, what did he say? I'm in a dry spell and I can't seem to get out of it lately though. So what is that causing him to do? It's causing him to hold back. It's causing him to be fearful. And obviously he was afraid, well, what happens if I go for the kiss and she rejects me? So he doesn't go for it, even though she could tell he likes her. So he's communicating he lacks confidence. He's communicating a beta male vibe. That's not attractive to a woman. So that's one little strike. It's like, eh. He says, I did not go for the kiss, but things went well and it felt good. But the bottom line is you didn't go for the kiss. Because women who like you will kiss you back. Women who either don't like you or who are structured, meaning they're following a bunch of rules and therefore they don't act naturally, are going to turn the cheek. And you don't waste your time with structured women or women that turn the cheek. If you value yourself and you love yourself and you respect yourself, you want a woman that'll suck the tongue out of the back of your fucking throat when you go out on a date with them. He says, we had a great conversation, a lot in common, and I followed your rules of just saying I had a great time and goodbye. Well, you didn't kiss her. So you conveniently left that one out. So you notice how he tells himself, hey, I did everything right. But he still didn't go for the kiss. It communicated a lack of confidence, a lack of decisiveness. I got home and was surprised that she texted me, hey, I just got home. Thanks for dinner and a fun night. I responded, you're welcome. I had a great time too. Good response. I mean, it's a good indicator that, because if she didn't give a fuck, she would have never texted him back. So he says, now this date was on a Friday, and I contacted her on Monday at 10:52 a.m. in the morning. thinking about that. It's like, I'm going to purposely not call this girl until Monday. I'm like, I just can't handle it. I'm going to call her early in the morning. They're going to be at work. I personally would call around 6 or 7 o'clock at night. He says, so I know I contacted her too soon, but to my credit, I did wait. But in the morning like that? And he's texting her. I always call. Women like it when you have the balls to call. I had a woman I went out on a date with a couple months ago. Same thing. She's like, wow, this is really ballsy. Why? She's 27, and just about 99.99% of the guys that she meets always text. Why? Because texting is low risk. It's a low risk for a rejection. Alpha males are fucking bold. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear some enthusiasm when I call you. And if I don't hear enthusiasm, I'm not going to want to go out with you again. He says, I know, not long enough. Anyway, I sent the message. Now here's another little mistake. Remember, direct, decisive, get right to the fucking point. Alpha males know what they want, they're busy, and they go for it. He says, anyway, I sent the message, good morning, how was the rest of your weekend? Ooh, that's a real exciting conversation to have. I would have said, good morning, hope you had a great week. If you're going to text a girl, I personally don't do it, I call, but if you're going to text a girl, you would ideally want to say something like, hey, good morning, hope you had a great weekend, had a really great time Friday night, and I'd love to see you again. What's your schedule like this week? When you be able to get together next? So in that response, it communicates that, of course she's going to be glad to hear from me. Of course she's going to want to go out with me. Let's just arrange this date as simply as possible. But instead, she's probably had 100 guys that have sent her boring texts like that, and she's like, oh, here's another one. And it go back and forth, round and round over a couple of days, and then maybe a week later he finally gets around to asking her out. That's just the vibe. And the only reason he's holding back is because, remember, what's he telling himself? I'm in a dry spell, and I can't seem to get out of it lately, though. Is it my age, my weight gain, or just confidence? Well, it's a perception issue, and the story that you've invented to tell yourself is actually interfering with your actions and being direct and decisive. It's making you look like you're weak, you're insecure, and you're unsure of yourself. And remember, women can sense this. They see this all the time from guys. So things were great until Monday. I mean, you made a mistake, obviously, by not going for the kiss, but the good news is she still texted you that night to tell you she got home. So obviously, as of Friday night, she was still into you, but then she had the whole weekend to think about you and talk to her girlfriends and talk about the dates she went on, and maybe her other girlfriends had gone out on dates or first dates. And did he kiss you? Like, no. That's not something that is going to communicate confidence. And so the whole weekend she had to think about you, and maybe she talked to her girlfriends or maybe her mother about you or maybe her female coworkers, and she may have been high on you Friday night, but maybe by Monday she was like, eh. And then she gets a text. She probably showed her girlfriends a text, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, another one of those. So he says, anyways, how was the rest of your weekend? He says, silence. She ghosted me after that. I figure on to the next, but psychologically, I'm like, damn, that was one I wanted. Well, if that was one you wanted, you should have gone for the kiss. And damn the consequences. At least you would have found out whether she liked you or not. But instead, you spent the whole weekend wondering and worrying, is my weight gain a problem? Is my confidence a problem? I am in a dry spell. So your actions are consistent with the self-perception, the story that you've created. You see how that totally causes him to not do what he really wants to do. He's constantly holding back. There's 2-3 little subtle mistakes, but they communicate everything to the woman. And obviously, she wasn't that into it. So if she didn't reply, I wouldn't do anything after that. Remember, dating's like a game of tennis. There's also a possibility that there's another guy in the background, maybe somebody else that she had been dating, maybe that guy. Maybe she went on a date Saturday night and that guy went for the kiss and she hooked up with him. He was direct, decisive, went for it, and you didn't. If she's a really pretty girl, she's probably got lots of options and lots of choices, and she's going to go for the guy who displays those alpha male fearless characteristics of being direct, decisive, and going for what he wants. And then, or maybe it's an ex-boyfriend that came back in the picture. You really don't know, but like I said, those couple things that I pointed out and your mindset, that's what's led you to being rejected. So if you haven't read my book yet, you can go to my website, subscribe to the email newsletter. You can read it totally for free. You can also get the audio version of my book for free if you go to Amazon and subscribe and do an Audible free trial. So there's absolutely no risk to learn the best of everything I have to offer. And if you'd like to talk to me personally and you've got a challenge either in maybe your personal life or your professional life you'd like my help with, go to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book whatever coaching option works for you. And I will talk to you soon.